Hello everyone, this is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today our guest is Mario Pinto, the Levels Fight League heavyweight champion. Hello Mario, how are you?
I'm good, Martin. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Mario, in your last fight, you fought against quite an unorthodox fighter because it's rarely seen that the heavyweight won his all fights by submission and he's willing to pull guard, trying to attack with the heel hooks. So if you can tell me how tough was this fight, how tough this fight was for you, and also how interesting this challenge was for you.
Well, I have to say, the person I fought he was actually a dragon. That's the best way to describe it. He was a dragon from Bosnia. So it was very awkward. He was like he's very athletic, quicker than he looks for the most time. When he was at the first round, he's more fresh. He tried it in Minoru well, so he was fast, but he was very. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it's my hardest fight. It was just my most awkward. His style as well, like he did use his range well, but I knew he just wanted to grab me and pull guard, and he was very strong, you know. So you got to watch out for big guys like that. You don't want him to grab you.
And did you prepare like submission defense? Did you train more of the submission defense for this fight?
I did, but I don't. I think that could have been detrimental. I don't think that was the best thing to do because when you start defending for certain submissions, you're almost accepting being in that position. So, for example, if I say his biggest threat is an armbar, and I'm practicing armbar defenses, I'm almost saying, okay, I'm going to let myself get into an armbar to defend it. When you should almost just be like prevention, just prevention. I don't need to go to the ground, you know. But I've explained it before, like a lot of people saying, oh, you worried that he's a grappler, he grapples with Cyril Gane and he's a well-known jiu-jitsu grappler. I'm just like, this is MMA and I'm a well-rounded fighter. I train all parts. I'm not just one-dimensional.
And overall, this was a very good performance for you because it ended in the third round. In the
Yeah.
second, you looked great. There was the like level differences we can see in
Mm.
later parts of the fight. So I think that it was overall very good performance from your side.
Thank you.
And overall, you were scheduled to fight a UFC veteran, Raphael Pessoa.
Yeah, Raphael, yeah. But unfortunately that didn't go through. So Benjamin, he stepped up, so fair play for him. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had a fight,
But
put on a good show for the fans.
it also would be it was of course the different kind of style, but I think that if the fight against Pessoa would be rescheduled, it also would be like fun fight for you because he's a
I
good
was that's
striker.
I was more excited for that one because the style I was practicing in camp and the drills we were doing was for him. It was tailored for him. And like him and Benjamin, they're two different types of heavyweights. And even in terms of body shape, like Benjamin's much bigger. He was enormous, you know. And like he obviously put on some size, like he was more pudgy in his previous fights, and now he put on some muscle, he was lean. When do you see a heavyweight like that with a six pack? You know what I mean? Like someone's been hitting the weight room, but
And
it's all this.
is there a chance for you to fight him in to fight Pessoa in your next fight, or you will have another opponent?
Potentially, I don't see why I can't fight him. I think the offer will be placed, but the problem is now, like when people pull out of fights, there's almost like a trust that's been broken, and it's a bit risky. Like there wasn't real explanation of why he pulled out. I never want to know too much detail why people pull out because usually it's always an injury. But like I think all fighters, when we go to fight, we all have injuries. But you know, I don't mind.
And earlier in this year, you fought in a one-night tournament. It was 3 fights in one night. So how much of the challenge was it for you? Because it's not you usually think right now in 2023 to fight a one-night
Yeah.
tournaments.
I was excited. I think it was great fun. Obviously, at the time, it was stressful. Also like you have to preserve your energy and not get injured in the first fight. You need to watch what type of you can't be blasting leg kicks. You might crack your shin bone. But it was definitely exciting. Gained a lot of experience in one night. First time I've ever been to decision in a fight. So like learning to push and try to win on the judges' scorecards is very important. Always looking dominant at the end of the round was very important. So I gained a lot of experience and knowledge in one night than I could have done in a year. So it was definitely needed, and it reminded me of old school fighting, like back in Pride. So that was good fun as well.
Yes, it was like UFC one, the one night
Exactly.
tournament. So it's I think that it's cool thing in this year in 2023 because it's quite rarely in the like top level promotions don't have it because of some regulations. But I think that overall with a little bit shorter rounds, it's kind of cool concept still.
100%. Of course.
And your last title fight, it was scheduled for 5 minute rounds. And where is any difference for you to train for championship fight?
Yeah, not just definitely preserving my energy, but pushing the gas tank more, watching my shots. But I think the tradition is that a lot of heavyweights want to finish in the first round or the second round. They don't like a lot of heavyweights don't plan to go to the fifth round. Well, I'm happy to go to the fifth round. But even in this fight, like I felt a bit I don't know, I felt a bit flat. But like I don't know if anyone noticed, but like I had a staph infection during that fight, which kind of affected my cardio. My immune system was weak, but I still found a way to win, so it was fine.
And if we can talk a little bit about your beginnings in the sport, was it the MMA the first combat sport that you ever trained, or do you have any other kind of
I
background?
was doing I think the first actual one was boxing. Like I walked into a boxing gym. That was the first actual martial arts practice I did. And then I did a bit of karate, like a traditional karate, and then I went back to boxing, did a bit of that, and then but I always wanted to do MMA. So I did boxing, karate, back to boxing, then I transitioned to MMA afterwards.
But
Yeah.
the striking style, it's seen in your fights that you feel really comfortable in the stand-up department.
I mean, yeah, but I'm like, if that's the way I can win, then why not? If I don't need to take it, if I don't need to wrestle, why would I wrestle? If I need to wrestle, I'll wrestle. If I need to grapple, I'll grapple. But if I can just point fight someone and will knock them out, then I'll take the easiest route possible.
Yes, and it is correct way because you are undefeated, so it's like no
Yeah,
argument against it.
yeah. Obviously, like moving on and fighting harder fighters or more well-rounded people, I'm gonna have to start showing more of my style. Like this, I had to show like more grappling defense in this fight. He had me in the worst case situation. Like I think my heel was fully exposed when he had it, and I escaped. I was patient. I knew what I was doing. So
And what is the main gym that you right now are training in?
what in terms of style?
MMA, like your main gym that you are
Oh,
training right now.
Fightzone London and Fight City Gym. Yeah, so
Uh,
two gyms.
the Fightzone London is the gym that Austin is training, or
Yeah, Stuart Austin. Yeah, yeah.
yes, he actually got a win over Thomas Pinal.
Tom Aspinall. Yeah, I know.
What can be
Yeah,
interesting?
you could say he's Tom's only actual defeat, proper defeat.
Yes, Stuart can be like unofficial unofficial
Yeah, he's the unofficial
UFC champion.
champion. Or cool, you should call him out. Be like, I'm the only person to beat Tom Aspinall.
And I saw on your Instagram that you also like one of your training partner is also Shah Kamali.
Sharkamali, yes.
Yes, he because I'm like researching many things or like topology and YouTube, and he's one of the best prospects in a heavyweight division. He just made his
100%, yeah.
pro debut, so I think that is very cool that you can like grow together as a team.
100%, yeah, 100%. It was good times. It was the second time me and him fighting on the same show. It's definitely more nerve wracking, but it was good to fight on the same show because our camps align well. So like we're not fighting at different times, so we fight at the same time, then we can have a break at the same time.
And where when you are training, what is like the main thing that you think that you need to improve the most in your skill set right now?
Um, just more confidence, I think, in terms of my ability and my attacks. And yeah, that's it.
So I think that the more fights you will get, the like it will be like more shown in your fights.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely want to compete more, but I have to understand that in MMA, it's not like boxing and these other like MMA. There's a lot more potential injuries. You know, like you can hurt your knee, dislocations, tears in your ligaments. There's so many injuries, so like that's why we tend to have less fights in MMA. So we have to like realistically, I would like to have like one or two more fights before going to a really like moving on to a big promotion or a bigger promotion. Sorry.
But I think that the Levels Fight League is actually it's a quite young promotion, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like main make a lot
It's
of
growing.
noise right now.
Yeah, it's growing fast. Like they've only, if it was only LFL 10. So like and like they're putting on their production's great. The fighters they're putting on is great. The way they treat the fighters is amazing. It's a great show, you know. Like what other show do you see doing a tournament? Like no other show is currently doing that right now. So like they're really stepping up and they've got big plans for the future. And they're giving fighters a platform. You know, they come and they film you and they interview you and they put you out there for people to see. It's definitely a good place for fighters to develop as well. And I'm happy to be part of it and representing them.
So there is a chance that your next opponent will be also a like a high level fighter, either with like UFC experience or even without it, but also the highest level possible actually.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, that's why I was excited to fight Raphael. I think it would have been a good fight, a good test for me as well. But unfortunately, it didn't go to plan. But you know, I still stepped up. I still showed up. No excuses.
And did you ever train MMA outside of London, outside of England?
Yeah. I've trained MMA outside of England. I've trained in Dublin. Yeah, where SPG. Yeah, I've trained there, but not for long. I was there for like a week, 1 week. But it was still good. It was good to be at another gym, seeing how they train. See, I was there. I was there with some boys I used to train with, some of my former teammates, and we were helping Johnny Walker with some sparring when he was preparing to fight Jamal Hill. So that was we got took a lot from those spars, learned a lot as well from the training.
Yes, he probably is a very good like sparring partner because he's a light heavyweight, but he's like he should be a
Yeah,
heavyweight.
I don't know how he fights at light heavyweight. I just some of these guys that fight at light heavyweight, I'm like they're so big, and I understand like you can make the weight because you dehydrate, but I think it hinders their performance, and I think that's why they get like more hurt or they're more likely to get knocked out. Like you got Johnny Walker, look at Ryan Spann, that light heavyweight. He's so big, he's humongous, and I'm like you dehydrate yourself. I think he'd perform better as a heavyweight. He'd probably have a better chin. Where when you dehydrate that weight and then they're getting hit and then it's like, oh, it's just you're fighting before fighting. That makes sense. But you know, it's worked for some people and it works for other people. Some people say that to me I should fight a light heavyweight, but right now I feel good as a heavyweight. I feel healthy, and I'm still working towards being a solid heavyweight. It's a slow. I'm doing it the right way. I'm not using any funny stuff. I'm building. I'm putting the weight on properly. That's why like I'm gradually putting on size, but not too much. I don't want to be too big, to be honest.
Yes, and probably later in your career it would be harder to go light heavyweight because it's
Yeah,
usually like fighters starting from the lower weight classes and then they usually go up, not down.
exactly. Yeah,
And because right now you are very very young as especially as the heavyweight fighter.
yeah.
Uh,
I've been told. Yeah,
Yes, yes, because it's rarely to see a heavyweight fighter as good as you when you are like 25, because
yeah.
it's actually a very very rare thing. So if in like your perfect world, what would next year would look like for you? How many fights would you like to have, and what should be next for you after that next year?
So hopefully next year I'll have 3 fights, three good fights, like good, really showcasing my skills, like really in all departments. And then hopefully after those 3 fights or 2 fights, I'll be in like a probably one of the top promotions, either UFC or PFL now. Between those two, and just performing well, just building. I'm right now just building my portfolio, gaining experience. But hopefully, willing, I'll be in those 2 promotions, and in a couple of years, I'll be a world champ.
But because you are undefeated and you were actually close to fight a UFC veteran, so I think
Mhm.
that when you would be like 10-0, it's like heavyweight with 10-0 with good fighters on his record. It's like rare thing to not to see him in one of the
Yeah,
like top promotions. So I think that there
yeah,
is a really big chance for you.
for sure, for sure. I think the only risk there is like when you have too many fights outside of the UFC, and also depending on who you fight or whether it's UFC or PFL. Like, say you have I don't know, you're 13-0, and like because they fight people, but their record's very padded. They're fighting people who've had no fights or just they're like 0-1 or 0-20. But then you go to the UFC and then they're like, oh, and they start giving you like really hard people straight away. They throw you in the deep end with the sharks. So this is a bit of a risk, but I'm sure those people who get thrown in the deep end get paid more. Yeah. Like for example, Yuri Prohaska, you know, he fought a lot outside the UFC. He fought in Rising, gained a lot of experience, had his belts, and then when he joined, he had to fight what's his name? No Time.
Volkan Ozdemir.
Yeah, oh yeah, Volkan Ozdemir, yeah. And then after that, he fought Dominic Reyes. But he has so much experience. He's had, I think, more than 30 fights, and he's only like 29. So yeah, of
Yes, so there are like different ways to go to the UFC, because sometimes fighters
course.
don't want to go when they are like 5-0. They want to be
Yeah,
more on the regional scene to get more experience. And some
yeah,
fighters
for sure.
just the first like contract opportunity they get, they want to go straight to the like main promotion.
100%. I think right now I'm very fortunate that I'm not in a position where I need to do that. I'm not in a rush. I can understand though why some people take those chances depending on their life and their circumstances. But I feel like if you rush, say you're 5-0 and you get to the UFC, you haven't got a lot of experience, and like maybe the wrong fight or the wrong type of loss, and then you just get what's the word? You get released, you get cut, because you weren't ready. That's the risk sometimes. So like I always say to myself, if I when I go to these big shows, I have to be ready for anyone. You have to be prepared because sometimes you can't cherry pick who you want.
But also that you have a seven pro fights. You also had like uh, 6 or 7 amateur fights, and
Yeah, 6 amateur. Yeah,
because of you right now, you are the champion. You will have this championship experience, even if it's not a 5 rounds fight.
yeah,
Like different mindset, different like training. So it's not
yeah, 100%.
that
I
you
feel
that
like That's what's important for me, and what I've been lucky to have. For example, like I've had only 7 fights, but for example, my last fight, it went 3 rounds. So like I'm gaining more cage time. You know, like in terms of actual round time of how many minutes I've done quite a few. Where people could be 8-0 or 7-0, and they're all first round knockouts. And obviously, you don't get paid by the hour, which is good. It's good to win quickly, but you don't actually learn too much when you're just beating people so quickly. You know, and then you run the risk like when you actually have to deal with problems, you're like, oh, I haven't had to deal with this before. I haven't been past the first round, you know. But
Yes, there is always the question mark. What will happen in the second or even the third
exactly,
round?
exactly.
And is there any heavyweight in the UFC that you would like to face? Let's say that you will get your contract in like few months. There any fighter that you would like to face right now?
Off the top of my head, not really, but I'll be happy to take anyone, to be honest. Yeah, like at the same level, if that makes sense. Yeah,
And overall, what do you think about heavyweight division? Because it's like interesting situation because there is a Jones, there is
yeah.
a interim champion right now, Thomas Pinal. So if you would be a matchmaker, what would you like to do? Rebook a John Jones against Stipe or do
Uh,
a champion against champions fight?
Honestly, I think it's got to be John Jones and Stipe. I think for the sake of just legacy of two heavyweights, and they've been planning it for such a long time. I think it only makes sense, and I think that Jones and Stipe won't fight anyone else. That was their plan. I think they made a gentleman's agreement with Dana, and they said, "Look, Dana, we're both old now. We want to fight each other. We don't want to fight these young lions. Let's make our money and then retire into the sunset." I think that was the plan. That's why they're not entertaining the whole Aspinall situation. Like, and I can understand. Like, Jones has nothing. What does Jones have more to prove? Even if he didn't move up to heavyweight and he just retired, he'd still be one of the best. So he moved to heavyweight. He beat Cyril Gane, who's like one of the top heavyweights, in the best way you could win. And then he was gonna fight Stipe. I think after this fight, he should just retire. He's got nothing more to prove. He seems to be quite healthy. You know, hasn't taken too much damage, and then move on to bigger and better things. And the same for Stipe. There's no need to go and fight these young lions, and just like there's no need for it. But
Yes,
I understand from a competitive aspect and like actual rankings and matchmaking. Yeah, it should be champ versus champ because then now it's awkward. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, Tom's not the real champ," and how does it make sense? Like, who if Jones is out for so long, who's Tom gonna fight? He can't wait for that long, you know. So I understand that for sure,
but
but I don't. No, sorry, go on.
it would be also interesting to add Francis Ngannou to heavyweight division
Yeah,
because it would be the best heavyweight division in years actually.
100%. Yeah, 100. But I don't think they want anything to do with Francis, the UFC.
Yes, not right now.
Nah, not right now.
Yes, but I agree that the Jones against Stipe is like a legend fights. So I think that
Yeah,
the interim title will be defended in the meantime. Then Thomas Pinel
of course.
will defend the title against like another top level contender.
Yeah, for sure. I think Tom should just fight Cyril next, or maybe potentially fight Jalton after. But I think definitely the person that Tom should fight next is Cyril Gane, and that will probably like start solidifying his legacy of how good he is.
And about your skill set, if you can add any skill from any other fighter, what you would like to add, like to
Uh,
your current skill set?
Definitely like top pressure in the grappling, like Khabib's pressure. Yeah, 100%. And being that relentless cardio that he has, that non-stop, you know, making fighters want to quit in round type of style.
Yes, this style was like unbeatable, to be
Yeah,
honest.
because even though striking is very nice to watch, sometimes striking is just the roll of the dice, or it's too risky. You know, you should have zigged and zagged because sometimes the best striker they still get knocked out or they still get hurt. You know, it takes, especially in that division heavyweight, it takes one hit, wrong hit, and he can take you out. You know, so if you can take a guy down and wrestle him and beat him up on the ground for 3 rounds, 5 rounds, that's even better. Less risk.
And in heavyweight division, it probably wouldn't last like 5 rounds. It would be like 2 or 3 because
Yeah, exactly.
there are big power even from ground and pound. So
It's 100%.
and about like mindset in MMA, how do you think how important is mindset according to you in MMA, and how do you deal with this stress before your fights?
I think mindset is 90%, almost 95%. I think it's so crucial, it's so important to know where your mind's at, to stay disciplined in your head. I remember Trevor Whitman saying the problem with fighters sometimes they have too much heart, and having too much heart actually gets you knocked out. You know, like sometimes you have to pull back. You know, like when you're in exchange and you're like, oh no, I'm trying to knock them out. Sometimes you have to just step back and accept, all right, I'll lose this round and come back in the next round. You know, and just understanding that even though it's a fight, it's a war. You still have to make it a sport. There's still rounds. There's still different ways to win. You have to use the different elements according to the rules to win, if that makes sense. You know.
Yes, you have to be
But
smart to use like IQ, fight IQ.
exactly, yeah, fight IQ is very important, and just training your mind and not letting the you always. I think all fighters they feel that you always have a little bit of fear. You always feel nervous, but you have to just get used to it and accept that it's not the first time. The first time is always the worst, but every time you go in there, it just gets better and better.
And outside of fighting, when you have some free time, what do you like to do? Do you have any hobbies or passions?
Just train, brother. Obviously, I do like traveling, hiking a lot. It's very nice camping for sure. Doing other activities, but I think I'd say traveling is a big thing for me.
And
Seeing the world.
do you plan to go yes somewhere in Europe or outside the Europe in like next year?
Oh yeah, potentially for a couple of days, maybe for or a week, go for to another place, train there as well. Definitely want to do that. See what it's like.
Yes,
Maybe go to Poland.
this is probably very, very cool for fighter because you can go there, go sightseeing, go to some place, go
Exactly.
sightseeing and train in the
Yeah,
meantime.
100%. 100%.
Because in
It's
Europe,
probably the best thing.
yes, because in Europe there are like many great countries and great gyms in there, so you can like go anywhere, maybe not anywhere, but many places go and train.
Many places.
And do you have like a bucket list, the list of the things that you would like to do? And if you have it, can you share one of or two things from this?
I definitely want to. My bucket list is definitely to fight on one of the biggest shows. Really put like my name out there, my nation out there, like representing the UK and Portugal, even Guinea-Bissau, like where my family originally from. Really put our name on the map and like set a legacy. That's very important for me. Showing people where I came from and like with this sport, it's just a numbers game, and people have to understand it's like you see these gyms, you start and it's like amazing 20 fighters at the start, but then only like three of the 20 people are successful because they're the ones that kept going, kept training every day, non-stop. It's just a numbers game. A lot of people give up on the way, and I want to show them that I never gave up.
And if you can like talk to yourself when you are 10 years old, did the like previous version of you, would you believe that you can be a successful mixed martial artist with like potential to being great?
Well, when I was 10 years old,
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think so. I always knew in the back of my head I was gonna do it, but like sometimes you you don't even look around and you catch yourself. I'm like, oh, I'm actually doing it because you hold yourself such to a high standard. You're like to me, I feel like I haven't done anything, but other people say to me, oh, bro, like you're winning now. You're number one in the UK. You're winning titles. You're a professional now, but you don't notice these things because you're living it. And then because you set such high expectations, you're like, no, I'm only going to be happy when I'm like UFC champ or PFL champ and have so many title defenses. But I think you need those high expectations. It's almost like your brain defending itself, saying that that's what keeps you motivated, keeps you training, keeps you focused. You can never be comfortable. It's very important.
The big goals are important, and actually you are like on the beginning stage of your career, so there
Exactly.
probably will many great things will happen in like 10 or 15 years because it's like it's a like just a beginning for you.
Exactly.
And I have one last question. It's outside of MMA. If you can learn any skill in the world, but not including fighting, what you would
Yeah.
like to learn?
If I could learn any skill in fighting, what would I like to learn apart from fighting? What would I like to, hmm, trying to think. A skill. Definitely how to maybe be a director or how to design video games.
Okay, so it can be something that you will do after your successful MMA career.
Potentially, that might be one of the plans.
You can like spend the money from the like MMA from the
Yeah,
title and
set up some businesses.
yes, that's right. Okay, Mario. So many thanks for the conversation.
You're welcome, man. My pleasure. Thank you.
I hope that you will defend the title soon, and that the many great things will happen in 2024, and also after this that we can see you in the UFC or PFL.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the platform to share, and thank you for helping fighters. Speak their voice and push their push their profiles out, man. We always appreciate it, brother.
Okay, thanks.